Yorkie and me rolling on. 'Cause a long day's run can be short on fun without Yorkie to help me along.
So hi guys, welcome to a bit of a special Eddie Stobart this week. This week I'm doing it live. Two reasons. One is I just didn't get the time to film it, and second reason, why not? Because I can. So I have a bit of a guest with me today. Normally we bring experts on, people who are doing the build, etc., etc. This person I brought on is purely as an observer. She doesn't build anything, but she's just a great person to have around, and and I just thought, come on the show. So welcome, Natasha.
Hi, Penny. Hi, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
So,
Just eating.
You feature a lot on a lot of my my diamond painting lives.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be a slightly different format to the way we do it.
Right.
I'm not going to bother with my disclaimers and things, but most people know how to behave, and
yeah.
So what I'm going to do then is the format we used to do when we used to do part work buildings. We get straight into the build, and then we deal with the comments and things straight after. This show I'm going to cut it down a little bit. I'm not going to do me like 2-3 hour chit chat. We're going to get into the build. We're going to deal with any comments, and then so I want it to kind of be quite consistent with my pre-recordeds. So the other thing is, quite often when I'm building, I'm going to be changing the view slightly, so you're going to be more like that.
That's
so you're
fine
a little
with
bit
me.
out of the picture, unless actually we're probably going to do that more often. But yeah, it's So right, so I'm going to do what we call cameras down, and we're going to start building. So yeah, I'm afraid we're not going to see you for a little while. I do apologise.
That's all right. You do what you got to do, isn't it?
So we are doing issue 51 of the Eddie Stobart. Now, in the previous issue, we put together this chassis bar, and without even opening the magazine, I know that what we're going to end up with is this. This is what we did in the 2 issues previously. So this is the left chassis bar. This is the left rear chassis, left chassis. So obviously we're going to turn this into this, hopefully without the broken screws. I did do one off-camera change where I'd put the epoxy in. I just for a bit of belt and braces, because I'd put a bit of red electrical tape there. So I put a little bit there. I don't think this is going to be seen, and if it is, I'm going to pop a bit of paint over it. So we've got our bit from last week. So let's go through the parts check. If I can get them out, are they going to come out? Yes. So really, this is very little that you haven't seen before. So first of all, we have the right rear chassis beam. So this is obviously going to form the extension. We then have cable 10. Now, as you know, Harshett are very good at labeling their cables. And I don't know why the word cable label always makes me laugh, but it does. So I'm just going to straighten that. So this is the cable that's labeled 10, if the focus ever comes in. So that's that part. Then we have the imaginatively named cable 12 with no focus. Come on. There we go. Cable 12. So they're both exactly the same by the looks of it. Yeah, absolutely the same length. So next we have 51.4, which is a hydraulic pipe. So that goes there. And I'm going to jump to the screws next. I'm going to leave this bit till last. 5107 is our 2.3 by 4 mil PM screws labeled DD03, and that's these. And there should be 4 of those, one of which is spare, and 7 1.8 by 3.5 mil PM screws labeled DD04, one of which is spare. So lastly, we have got 5106 fixing plates for the wiring, flat ×4. Right. I'm a little bit confused now. 51. Right. Sorry. Yeah, we've got 5105, which is 2 stepped hydraulic pipes, so that's these 2 there. And then the rest are all flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what these will do is we'll pop these in there, and you'll see there that these are the flat ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are the steps, and that's just to make a little channel for these wires that are going to come in. Why that one is flat and that one is stepped, I'm not 100% sure, but you know me, we go along with instructions. So let's begin with taking the right beam assembly from the previous issue, which is this one. Fit the end of the beam 5101 to the end of the right beam 5001 as indicated. Step 2, let's pop that on, shall we? So there we go. So we've got 3 screw holes and we've got 2 locating lugs. And now we see we've got 5 holes, and we're going to pop that in like that, or like that, like that. There we go. So you'll see that it matches along there. So we've got the 2 locating pegs there and 3 screw holes there. Probably should have looked ahead and looked at where the screws were, but we're going to need 3 2.3 by 4 mil PM screws, which is our packet label DD03. So knife, there we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do my usual. I'm going to put the single screw in first, this one there on its own, and I'm just going to pop that in just enough to hold. So yeah, it's not in properly, but it just gives us that third hand to hold that. And so welcome to Love Minis and Chris Davis. You know me, I don't understand emojis, but I'm sure that's all goodness, because it usually is my Love Minis. And Chris Davis well says hi all. So Chris, you've got this to come, and I know you'll enjoy it. So now we've got the other 2. We'll just pop that second one in just enough to bite. You'll feel that going a bit tighter. And then once we know everything's lined up and stayed lined up, we will put the third one in, and that can go nice and tight because it's a metal screw holding 2 bits of metal. So that's in nice and tight. So then I'll go back to the previous screws, and that's in nice and tight. And then we'll get that first one in, which is now the last one. And oh, I thought that something had happened to the screw, but it's my screwdriver came loose. So that's a relief. So that's in nice and tight, no movement there, and I'm happy because it hasn't snapped. Right, so next we want to get our cables. Now it's telling us to remove all of these first. So it's going to get us to remove these, and then we're going to do the cabling, and then we're going to go back to these. Now, I cannot find, I had been having a bit of a move around, and I can't find my clippers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, shall we call it a cheat? Because I've only got my knife, I'm going to use that. But obviously when we cut things off a sprue, let me move that in. We run the risk of, as we cut things, things fly off. So I'm going to show you a little trick, nothing extremely awesome, but this is to stop things from flying off. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some masking tape. I want enough to get that to wrap around twice. We're going to place our masking tape across there, but make sure the cut point is exposed. And then that can go on like that. And then we'll do another one on the other side. And what that's going to do is it's going to make that small piece larger by joining it with 2 others. So there we go. So what we can now do is we can cut this off. 1, 2, 3. Obviously be careful with knives. They have the potential to cut things you don't want them to cut. And you can see there, like, it's just not going to spring off. And if it does, it's big luck, so you won't lose it. Nice, simple way. Obviously, side cutters are always best, but if, like me today, you can't find yours, then don't worry about it. Because this is masking tape, it doesn't tape solid, and these pieces will come out nice and easy, unless like you've got this end piece and you've wrapped it around a little bit too tight. So there's a flat one, and there's two stepped ones, and I think all three of these are flat. Oh, I can't get that out. Can't get that out. Right, there we go. So there's our little pieces. You can still lose them, because if you start grabbing things and pull them out. Right, there we go. So that's our little end pieces. Now, this bit is more fiddly than it is difficult. We want to get our two cables, 51.2 and 51.3. We need to identify the larger connection. So I've put these down randomly, so you can see clearly you've got a large and a small connector. So this one is the wrong way round. So we want to flip that over. So we've got our larger connectors. What we want to do is make sure we've got this. So on this piece of chassis, on one end, you'll see we've got two posts that stick up, and on the end, there isn't. So it's at this point where you want these two. Let me just do a comparison. If we look at the other piece that we've done, where the two posts stick up, there's our two larger connections. Now, I'm concerned because I've only got one hydraulic pipe there, but last time we had two. 51.4 hydraulic. I'm confident there is only one. Right, so we want our two larger connectors and we want our hydraulic pipe, and we want to take the hydraulic pipe, position it so that it extends about 2.5 centimeters beyond the ends of the connectors. So I'd say that's roughly 2.5 centimeters. We could get funny and we could use a ruler. You ain't going to believe this, guys. That is about 2.25 centimeters beyond. That was not a bad guess, was it? Right, so we want to place these around there. The connectors seem to be between these two parts there. And we want our first, let's get our screws ready. Should we get screws ready? That would be a lot easier, wouldn't it?
Yep.
There we go. And I'm even going to get one ready on the screwdriver. I love my screwdriver because it's got a flat bit. So you can't see it, but it's actually sat there with a screw on it. Right, so we want to get our connectors around about there. And at this point there, we want one of the stepped fixing plates. Now, we have the advantage of being able to use the previous one as a reference material, so to speak. And that's going to go in like, I say like that, just as it jumped off. So with the whole, fat fingers. Fat fingers. Right. So you see we've got the hole at the bottom, and then it steps up towards, it did step up towards us. Right. Let's just get this in. And then I can show you. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm actually putting the screw into the connector, and then make sure those wires are in. We'll just start to screw that in. It's only in quite loose at the moment, but that just gives, it's not going to jump off now. So what I'm going to do, position this however you want, hold the wires down, then we can move that around. And I'm just going to bring my thumb up there just to stop that from rotating. And I'm going to slowly turn this screw until that connector starts to meet up with that little channel. Once we know that channel is in there, we can see that channel's not, that's not going to move much. It's not in tight, but what I can now do is check all of this piping and stuff. Don't actually like that pipe. I want it underneath the wire. Not because I've been told to, but because that's how I want it. Right, so we'll bring the wires to roughly where we want them. And I'm going to do a little bit of cheating. I'm going to get a bit of masking tape. This is optional. But by placing that little bit of masking tape there, you see those wires aren't going to move now. So I don't really need to worry about them anymore. If I need to change them, I can, because masking tape isn't that sticky. But just by pressing it, see, that's going to stay there. So what I'll do now is I'll just finish screwing this to the point where I want it. And the point that I want it is when you screw, you get a certain amount of resistance. Once that resistance increases, stop. Check the part, and you can see there it's not moving. So that's in enough. You could screw it in more and risk damage. Why go any further than it needs to go? So keeping this as tidy as you can and as tight as you can. In fact, let's learn from our previous lesson. We're going to put this screw in before we need it. We know we're going to need another stepped one next. So we'll get our screw in there. Whoops. See, these are just slightly fiddly parts, you see. And because they're smooth plastic, they're quite difficult to keep hold of. So I'm going to get that ready. So keep this nice and straight and tight. And then maneuver it around however you want. Yeah. Hold those wires down, and then we can put the next one in. Now all I'm focusing on is just popping the screw in, except this screw doesn't want to go in. There we go. So we've got it in just enough to connect. Now we can focus on holding that plastic bit down a little bit more. We can give that a few screws just until it's going to line up with the, there we go. Once the bottom of the holder goes below the top of the channel, we know that's not going to rotate when we turn it anymore. So check our wire is in, and then we can continue to screw that in. And we're just going to go slowly until the resistance changes. There we go. I'm happy with that. There's a little bit of movement there, so I'm going to just go a little bit tighter. I'm just going to go until, there we go. There we go. So that's now not moving. So that's the next stage done. So next, we want to continue putting these wires along the top. Keep them as neat as you can. And then the first flat fixing plate is now fixed. So we want the flat one to go in here. And we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4. We can see where they're all going to go. So learning from previous lessons, we're going to get these fixing plates ready. Just removing one fiddly job. Get that screwdriver ready, and we're going to get those wires. If you keep these wires neat and tidy, then it's going to make sure that the wire stays a bit longer. If you start twisting it round, you're going to shorten the wire. Right, so this is a bit fiddly. Remember, we're focusing on getting the screw in only, which it now is. Now we can focus on getting the plate down. Give that a few more screws until that plate is in, which it's in. And then now we can focus on tightening the screw. We're just going to go until the resistance increases about there. And that's in, nice and neat. Okay, so to come over this little joint there, we actually want this hydraulic pipe to go up like so, but the wires are going to go across like so. They're then going to come down around there and then above that next fixing plate, which guess what, we haven't got ready. So get that fixing plate ready. There we go, that went in nice and easily. Right, so channeling these wires through, getting it to where the fixing plate is, and then remember, but just like, see how that's just rotated. So not to worry about, we're only focusing on the screw, which that doesn't want to go in. There we go. Right, so that screw is in. So now we can worry about the plate. Make sure it goes over the wires. So that's in over there. So we'll hold the plate down now, and then we can screw this in until the plate's pushed down enough so it's in the channel. And now I can focus on tightening. So nice and slow until the resistance changes. Perfect. Right, so the next step then is we want this wire. See, there's a little bit there. The wire wants to go above it, in through there, like so. And there should be another one there. So the wire wants to go above that channel there too. And then you've got like a rounded bit there. It wants to come round. And then it looks like, bear with me one sec. So let me just shut my living room door. With live streaming. Sorry guys, I kind of forgot my lodger was coming home at like 6 o'clock every night. Okay, so fixing plate. Didn't get it ready, did we? How are you finding this, Natasha?
Totally different.
Think you could do it?
No.
Of course you could.
I'd probably need the simplest one ever to start that.
This isn't hard. It's like anything. It's like an orange. No one can eat an orange whole, but if you break it down into little segments, it's nice and easy. Right. So I've got that wire going round there. It's then coming up. There's a little knobby bit there. I don't know if you can see, can't, yeah, but it's just there. It's a bit out of focus, but I'm pushing it up above that, and then but like this bit, I'm getting this plate in, but all I'm focusing on is the screw. Look, if I get the plate round that way, that's fine. We've got it in. So now we're focused on keeping that wire a little bit tight, but making sure it goes around all the relevant areas. See, by keeping that a bit tight, it's going to keep that in there. But it's slightly fiddly because it's just fallen out of where I wanted it to go. But it's in now. It's also loosened the wire a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten this a bit more, just until that gets a bit more in the channel, but it's not fully tightened. Don't really think these are nipping the wires. They're just keeping them in place. There we go. And I'm probably doing this a little bit OCD-ish, keeping it overly neat, because I really don't know if these wires are going to be long enough. So usual thing, tightening this until the resistance increases. There we go, that's in. Perfect. And then we've got the last one, we've got a channel along the top there. So push those in that channel. And again, we're going around this bit. So there's a little bit there. Go on above that, round here, and haven't got the screw ready. Just easy if you have this ready, because otherwise you spend all that effort getting the wire sorted out, and then you let go and it all springs back. Right, so you know how this is going to go now, don't you, Natasha? Right, get the screw in, just focus on the screw, then focus on getting that plate in the right position. Just try and hold it down a bit. There we go. And then we can screw that in until we think the plate is all that's moved. Lovely, that's in. Right, so now we screw quite slowly, feeling for the resistance. You know how when you screw a screw in and once it's almost there, it tightens up, doesn't it? That's what you're feeling for. So that's in, that's not moving. And it says here, it looks like we've got to make sure it's round there. And I'm going to do a comparison. I'm quite chuffed with myself. No, it's not hugely skillful, but if you look at my distance at the end compared to the magazine, that's pretty much identical, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I've run that through properly. But yeah, all it really is just making sure this cable is nice and neat so it's not in the way. Then I can remove this because I don't need to stick those down anymore. And that is the issue complete. Simple as that. What do you think, guys? So the only thing that's confusing me, and I haven't got the bumper handy, but this is the right rear chassis beam. So that suggests it goes, well, that is right. Yeah, this is the left. So this is obviously, that's getting big now, isn't it? I'm going to have to move the camera up a little bit. So that's the chassis beams. The bumper's obviously going to go on there because we already know it fits well. So that's probably roughly about the length of the cab. So that is, this is a, let's tell you what, I've got a rulery bit on my light pad. I've got a light pad with a piece of paper over the top. Right, so that piece is about 44 centimeters, and that's only the cab. If you want to see things in proportion, you can't. Where's my truck gone? I had a model truck, and it's sit down. Right, so if you imagine that's 44 centimeters, well, that is 44 centimeters. There's the actual model of a truck. That bit there is that bit there. So how long is this going to be? So it looks like the front wheel will go about there, somewhere around about there, and the back wheel's going to go about there. So yeah, colour me happy. So let me change my camera. There we go. So what do you think, guys? You were
Look easy.
painting, weren't you?
You made it look easy, but I wouldn't find it easy.
Okay, well, this isn't stage one.
No.
Stage one is a good little exercise in using the screwdriver. You do get a screwdriver with it, but I choose to not use the screwdriver because I have my own screwdriver, which is my personal preference. Some people look at that and go, I can't use that, and they'll use one that I don't get on with. It's, you know, it's personal preference. And some people just go through all the builds with the supplied screwdrivers. So that's fine. It's personal preference. But issue one is basically using a screwdriver and pushing bits in. And I think if this is your first ever build, by the time you get to this one, which is stage 51, you'll have done lots of screwing, lots of positioning, lots of pushing in. Have we done any gluing? I can't remember if we've done any gluing. But you'll be well practiced by the time you get to this. So I think you could. And if anyone watches my issue one, I had a friend that said to me, I got two issue ones because I got a bit of a deal, which meant I had to start again. And my friend went, I don't know how you can do that. I wouldn't have the patience to do that. And I went, well, yeah, here's me issue one. Give it a go. She put all the bits out on the sofa, didn't even have a proper table, She used a screwdriver that came with it, and she did. If you watch me, issue 1, I think you'll agree she did a wonderful job. And I think that by the time I'd finished my issue 1, you couldn't see an awful lot of difference between hers and mine. So, but you know how it is. You don't know. You know, I wouldn't have the patience to do diamond painting. Says a lot of people, don't they?
Yeah. Hannah, my other sister Hannah says she hasn't got the patience for it.
Yeah. And when you watch people like Chris Davis do a build, he's an amazing build. Given his circumstances, he does a fantastic job. Right, Teresa says, hi all.
Hi, T.
Chris Davis well says, nice build, Penny. I can't spell Penny today. Look, Pumni. That looks fantastic. I'll agree with it. It looks fantastic. So you don't mind me taking the mickey, do you, Chris? Love minis. The best builds have difficult part placement. Otherwise, everyone would buy it and build it. Yeah. It's not for everyone, but I think if every stage was easy, I don't think it'd be interesting. The biggest issue I had with that was I was aware that when I did this one, 2 of the screws snapped. Now, whether that's because they were 2 dodgy parts that just happened to come in that same issue, or if it was because that's a problem issue. I think someone else was talking on somebody else's stream, and they said, did you have problems with parts breaking? So I was a little bit worried. I was a little bit worried about it. But as you see, a little bit of care, and there weren't really any problems with it. So Peter Webster says, hi, Penny. How are you, Peter? I don't recall seeing you around for a while. So I hope you're really well. And Chris Davis says, LOL, Penny. You know, I'm going to find a weird and interesting way to spell your name. Right, guys. So that's that build. That's me very happy. Let's have a quick look at what's coming next week. This is a bit of a worry for me. I say a worry, it's not really that much of a worry. So next week we've got the front left mudguard, the front left mudguard flat bracket and fixing screws. Now the reason it's a bit of a worry is because on the back I did the number plate and I repainted the mudguard mud flap, which then meant when I got the next mud flap, which had the number plate on it, obviously I had to paint that. Now I have to paint this one because otherwise I've got 2 black ones and a red one. And then I'm going to have to paint the next one. But I've made my own rod. I'll live with it. And I'm also going to I'd normally do this at the end of the 4 issues. And this is actually the first of 4 issues. So let's have a bit of a spoilery look. So we've got issue 52 is that mudguard that we spoke about, followed by the front right mudguard. So it looks to me like 52, 53 is pretty much the same thing, but one on the left, one on the right, which is then good because now we can do parts for the right chassis for the last issue of the 4. And that looks quite interesting, I think. What do you guys think? 2 packets of screws and 7 parts. And then that will be followed by parts for the chassis beams. So, given that this is parts for the right chassis, and issue 55 is parts for the chassis beams, brackets and stoppers for the left chassis, plus an anti-sway bar for each side of the model. So, what does that mean? I think these 2 are the same issue. I think 54 and 55 is the same thing. So, it says there that this is parts for the right chassis. And this is going to be parts for the left chassis. So, the 2 aren't going to look a mirror image of each other. And then you've got an anti-sway bar for each side of the model. And that you've got 2 packets of screws again, the same screws. You've got some similar looking parts. So I think 50, all the way up to 56, 50, 55 is chassis. What we're doing on 56, obviously I don't know because I can't see beyond 54. But do you think we are just going to put a few greebly bits on and then we're going to stick the chassis together? Because that's what a few people have been complaining about, isn't it? And I did say, I said that I thought the chassis would be coming around about mid-50s, but the chassis actually come late 40s. But the difference being was I wondered if we were going to get a complete chassis, but we've actually got parts for the chassis. So just out of curiosity, guys, would you have rather had one big heavy chunk of metal for the chassis like we got with the Routemaster? Or do you like this idea of screwing the chassis together? I'm not going to influence you, but I know what I would rather have. Having now, I mean, obviously I haven't finished this chassis, but I've done the Routemaster chassis. I'm doing this one. I know which one I prefer. Right, guys, so as usual, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave it there. So that's quite a short stream for me, and given that it's live, that's very short. I will get these recorded for the next issues. What am I doing next week? I'm trying to think what I'm working. Trouble is, my shifts change a lot. As it stands right now, I'm not working next Wednesday, so I'm tempted to say I'll do another live. But on the other hand, my boss, if you ever buy my boss a present, buy him a pencil and an eraser, because he certainly uses it. He changes my shifts that much. So I'll get these recorded, and then they'll come out as normal next week. From next week, Eddie Stobart is fine. It's all running all nice. It's on time. Harshett are giving me nice regular deliveries. The fire truck, I have just published the last one that I have. It came out 2 days ago. Wonderful issue. I called it issue 49A because it was, we did issue 49 and then they had another section just putting it together. So I just called it 49A. The payment for the next pack isn't due to go out until the end of the month. So I won't have an issue next week. I can guarantee that. I doubt I won't have an issue for 31st of October if the payment's going out on the 30th. I don't even know if I'm going to have an issue for the 7th of November. The reason being is a lot of times these packs I've been receiving them about 3 weeks after I've paid for them. I'm not happy. But I did actually stop one because I got so far ahead, because you get like 6 packs a month. So once I get a pack, that's 6 issues put out. By the time we get the 4th one is published, the payment for the next one should come out. And then, excuse me, and then obviously I should receive the pack roughly when that 4th issue, that 6th issue is coming out. So receive it just as a 6th one. Then I make them and I publish 6 more issues, or how many they have in a pack. 2 weeks later, the next payment comes out, and then 2 weeks later I receive them. But I'll then start to get ahead, and then if I start to get too far ahead, I can then look at maybe putting a couple of lean issues together. But I really want to focus based on past experiences. Once I get the next packs for the fire department, I want to look at getting about 4 or 5 weeks ahead. So we've got the wonderful Dave Mac Bills who just popped in just as we're leaving. I do apologize, Dave, but I will acknowledge you. He says, "Hiya, Penny." Dave Mac Bills runs a wonderful channel. It's almost like we're thinking alike. We're seeing these part works come out, and they're all right. There's nothing wrong with them. And sometimes you can get the same thing, but in a scale model. You have to put more effort into it. You know, like this, for example, that's come red. if I bought this as a scale model, I'd have to paint that red. And Dave's one of these that will put the extra effort in, and he'll make a really good model. He's just finished the Titanic.
I see.
Really, really nice build. I was on the fence with the Titanic. I'd seen the Trumpeter one, same size as the Hachette one, and I'd looked at it, and I was sort of looking at maybe doing the Trumpeter one and then meeting up with someone who's done the Hachette. But I think Dave's doing both. But he's put a lot of hard work in his, and it's really nice. And then, like, if you can put the effort in and get the scale right, Dave, just remind me, how is it about £500-600 for the Titanic with the extra detail kit? And that sounds a lot for a scale model, I know, but I can't remember how much the issues are. But if the part works in £9.99 each, then to do the Hachette one is £1,200. So if you're prepared to put the effort in, which Dave certainly has, he's got a model for half the price, and it's probably better. And then he's done a little diorama and a little base for it. Probably cost him 20 quid, and he's got an absolutely amazing model. And one thing I'm thinking about, Hachette are bringing out the 1:32 scale Lancaster bomber. Now, we've all had trouble with our Spitfire models, so we're a little bit unsure about this Lancaster one. Well, Border Models has got a scale model kit, 1:32 scale of the Lancaster, and it's absolutely amazing. But again, you got to put the effort in, you've got to paint it. So Dave says, hi, Natasha.
Hi, Dave.
And he says, I paid £385 for the Trumpeter Titanic, but I didn't get the upgrade kit, but I improved with Fablon for the decking. So there you go. Absolutely perfect answer. You see, he's put a little bit of effort, a little bit of thought, a little bit extra effort. And I can assure you, pop over to his channel and you'll see that, I mean, the Hachette Titanic hasn't finished yet, but I can see the problems that are coming with it. It's the detail freaks that are going to go mad. There's a set of steps that looks quite bad. So, whereas you won't get that, you'll get the proper looking one. So, yeah. Anyway, nice to see you, Dave. Right, guys. So, as I say, thank you very much for watching the channel. I really appreciate it. And I will hopefully see, well, I won't see you next week because I'm doing a pre-recorded, but hopefully you'll see me next week. So take care, guys. Oh, got to find the outro. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.